it's now time to hear from Ron Coleman. Ron and I first met when he and his partner Karen travelled to Glasgow to one of the Life Changes Trust gatherings way back in December 2018. And needless to say, we've never looked back. He's been a huge support to the work of the Trust through the work with our regional event in the Western Isles back in September 2019, and then to our recently hosted Dementia Activism Week in September 2020. Ron uses technology, and in particular Alexa, and on the 18th of September the Trust launched his peer-to-peer resource, A Guide to Alexa. So Ron is going to talk to us a bit more about this and his experiences now. So over to you, Ron.
Thanks, Arlene. Thanks, everybody. First, can I say I use Alexa for everything. The one thing I don't use technology as it could be used is in phones. And my mobile is a brick, you know, and my kids call it a brick. They say it basically phones and texts, and that's it. And the reason for that is that it's more physical than being able to use it because of memory or anything. But I still have the back of my phone has a button that will immediately call my wife first if I'm in distress or anything. So I can phone my wife. So even there's a bit of technology. Alexa and Me is the title of this presentation because I live with Alexa. I have her around the house 24/7. I almost see her as a person rather than I embrace the idea of artificial intelligence being part of my house. In fact, I want eventually to have the whole house AI, including things like the fridge, the freezer, all those things, so that ordering and everything can be done by using my, well, I use a show. I use an Alexa show or my Kindle Fire to get in. And in my house, there are about 6 or 7 Alexa devices. So no matter where you go in the house, you'll be in reach of one. And the one in this room, I've turned down because, of course, the minute you say Alexa, she gets very excited and wants to start engaging with me. I've been listening with fascination to a lot of the things that was said today, and I was thinking when I was on the last session and Nicola was talking about Alexa and how they use it, that like her, I looked at all of the different possibilities and came to the conclusion that for me, Alexa was the way forward. And the reason for that was that unlike some of the other platforms, I find using the Alexa community to help me resolve issues really helpful. The fact that there's a big developer community that you can access and you can say, look, I'm trying to do this, anybody got ideas? And you'll suddenly get an email back saying there's this app, and then you can go connect to it and find a solution. And I think it's important that when we look at how we do things, that we try to find integrated solutions. So having different bits of technology doing different things, although it sounds fine, I actually find being able to control that technology from a central hub like Alexa really useful. So the way I went about it was, and it's reflected in Alexa and Me, I used essential lifestyle planning on myself. I looked at my routine. I looked at my morning routines, getting up, what I needed, how I did that. And then I programmed that into Alexa so that Alexa can, every morning at 8 o'clock, if I wish her to, wake me up, play my favourite music, which is a bit of heavy rock. We put the kettle on and do a whole host of other things that will help me get out of bed. And I use Alexa plug and all those kind of other gadgets that you can use. I think also Alexa is brilliant because the initial use for me was actually to help create a virtual memory. You know, because for me, there's two kinds of memory. There's a virtual memory, which is information. And then there's my memory, which tends to contain a lot more emotion. And sometimes when you forget things, the virtual memory can click you back there and help you regain the emotional content that we quite often lose as we go on this journey. So part of Alexa and me is looking at your whole day, but not just one day, looking at it over the course of a week, because we don't do everything exactly the same every day. My morning routine might be exactly the same, but after that it changes. And my bedtime routine might be exactly the same. So having a virtual assistant takes out the realms of care. And I think that's important for me in terms of autonomy and makes it about, my Alexa is about Ron Coleman, it's not about anybody else. So I'm using routines and using other apps through the Alexa, through the Amazon community. We can actually live in our house and keep our autonomy for longer. For example, I can connect to my local shop. I don't need to go into store and make the shop and order online what I need. He will deliver it, and it will be Karen might pay for it because I'm not very good with money. And that would be done all by voice. So I can say, Alexa, I need Alexa shopping, put on milk, put this on, put that on.
You haven't do that.
So that was Alexa coming in there. I turned her down, not off. And when I tell her to send that shopping to our local shop, it will send the shopping list. They receive it. He'll make it up, bring it down to me, and Karen could pay for it. And that's not a problem. And that allows my partner, Karen, to have her time where she can continue her career, because she's not finished her career yet, you know, and I've not finished what I'm doing, but what I do want is to be able to spend time not being a burden to anybody. So the fact that my wife can continue working, she can continue doing things, she can go places, and not worry about what's happening to me, because we're refurbishing a bit of the house at the moment, and there's things that are going to happen in there, like the ring alarm bell, but also a motion centre that we can put in, that if I get worse, my progression continues, she would be able to see that I've left the house and speak to me using drop-in from her own phone. So for me, all of that's important. So That's just a general thing for me about Alexa. And just before we go, I'm going to ask Alexa to do one thing for me. Alexa, put the kettle on. Use plug one. Yeah, okay. So plug one puts kettle on, and in 10 minutes,
I didn't find a device named
in a minute, 10 minutes, my tea will be hopefully ready.
Fantastic, Ron. Absolutely fantastic. And as always, it's a real pleasure to talk to you about all the work that you're involved in, but in particular, you know, the real benefit that Alexa has had in your life and has given you that, you know, that autonomy, empowers you, as you say, to be leading and driving your own life rather than, as you say, that kind of being cared for aspect. So thank you so much. So just stay with me a minute or two if you can. There's just a couple of things I wanted to maybe ask you before we get into closing. So a guide to Alexa has been launched and it's now on our website and it's accessible to everybody. So what would you like to see happen with that guide? What would be your hope in terms of that being used or whatever? What do you hope for a guide to Alexa?
I hope it will help people embrace the idea of person-centered planning. Because I do think the way to individualize technology is through, if you like, templates we already have. We don't need to recreate the wheel. We have things like essential lifestyle planning, path planning, maps, a whole host of things. We have narrative ways of working. So all that stuff's in place. And what excites me is that we can then add technology to that. But people have got to be given the, I suppose, the freedom to use it.
Definitely. And I think the good thing about the guide is, or the peer-to-peer resource, is that it's like a workbook version, so people can personalise it and adapt it to their own needs, and you'll be able to see that. And I know Deb has posted the link on the chat to that. So going back to, I think this is a question that was asked to Jerry and Moira. So if someone was unsure about technology, so let's say Alexa, for example, given that's what we've talked about, but knows that they're needing something, what would your message be to them?
I think the first thing I would do is show them that first film you showed today, because I think that shows how people can get excited.
Yeah.
Because I, like most people, when I was told I was having cognitive problems, I thought it was the end of my world. And I've discovered that, yeah, my world's slower now, but it's certainly not the end, you know, so give it a go. Yeah, there's no right or wrong in this stuff. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Ron. What a way to end a fantastic webinar today, and to hear from people that are actually using technology and the difference that that's making to their lives. So thank you, Ron.